Alright everyone, I'm back once again for another important tutorial that probably everyone will need eventually, especially if you've got, any type of desktop around and there's no one really to help you with it. So the issue I'm talking about is if you've got Windows and your computer just won't start. So there's a bunch of different ways that this can happen, and there's different types of ways that it won't start. So we're going to go through each one of them. I recently hit a few of them and I had them fixed. So I thought rather than you guys having to go through the hours of research and stuff to figure everything out, I'd make a quick video and you guys could just figure out which one your issue is, how to solve it, and go through the steps yourself. So I hope this helps you guys out. The most basic way of a computer not starting is just simply you press a button and nothing happens. So I'm going to put one, no power, essentially. Won't start. This might not be yours, but we'll work up to yours. So the first one, there's a few things that it could be. Some small thing that it could possibly be. Let me use this instead. It could possibly be the button on the computer is broken. That's the power button. So if it's a desktop, it's that power button. That's a very, very small issue. The likelihood of that is probably not very high. But I just want to throw that out there. What most likely is the issue is your power supply failed. And that's what happened with me. I had my computer for 3 years. It's almost 4. And a power supply is usually the thing that fails first before a hard drive or RAM or anything. And all you really need to do is go to a store, buy a power supply, and ask the store themselves to install it, or you can install it yourself, whichever you want. So I'm going to put like a bunch of stars next to this, if I can figure out how to start it. This is most likely the issue. If you're pressing the power button and Windows won't start, and you don't see any lights in the computer, you don't see any signs of power, electricity, it's probably because the power supply failed, and I'm going to assume that 99% of you who don't see any lights or anything, this is your issue. So just replace the power supply, you'll be perfectly okay. The second one is a bit harder, and this is if Windows is constantly freezing / blue screening. So if Windows is constant, now for these folks, this is a little bit trickier because it's either a hardware issue or it's a software issue. So I know a lot of you guys are probably freaking out, so I'm going to spend a minute here just to tell you guys, don't worry, your data is safe. Even if it was a virus, even if whatever the worst case scenario, your data is safe. Even if all your data got wiped because of a virus, you can still recover it. You would pay about $100 for a recovery person, but most likely it's not wiped. 99% of the time, you can get your data back, don't worry. And it won't even require recovery. All it will require is someone physically taking your hard drive out, physically connecting it to another computer, and then easily they'll be able to pull the files off. It'll take them 10 minutes, 20 minutes max. So your data is safe, don't worry. You'll be able to get that. I just wanted to mention that. And I mentioned how you could get your data, which is first, they physically pull your hard drive off. If they see that the hard drive is wiped, because let's say a virus did it, you can still recover it. There's still files, there's still programs that would recover it. So don't worry, you're fine. So let's go into the two types of ways. If Windows is constantly freezing and you're blue screening, this assumes that you can get past the BIOS screen. So this is get past the BIOS screen. And the BIOS screen, if I just, I had Google up for a reason here. Let me just do BIOS screen. I just want to show, this is a BIOS, how you can boot into it. Essentially, you usually get this screen, or if I type in like a startup screen, something like this, right? So you get some sort of picture like this. In this case, you would press and here delete to enter your setup, which would probably take you into your BIOS. If you can get past this and you can get past the Windows loading screen, then we're on the same page. Essentially, it's either a hardware or a software issue, and we'll go through the fixes. Now, I want to mention for step 3 though, if you can't get past this, if it's, let's say it's failing here or you can't see the screen, then you're going to need to hire someone to fix it. Hire someone to fix it. Because at that point, they're going to have to take out your hard drive and go through all the steps with some sort of Linux program and see what's wrong. Because you should be able to, you should almost always get through this screen, and you should get through the Windows loading screen which I'll show you here in a second. Windows loading screen. So you should be able to get past this, and you should be able to get to the Windows welcome screen. Now, if you get to the Windows welcome screen, and this is where you're having issues, or if you're having issues after this, then this is where we're on. We're on step 2 essentially. So if it's step 3 and you can't even get past that, you just need to hire someone to fix it. And this video and other videos, they're not going to help you through it. It's going to be very complicated. If that's the issue, you can't get past your BIOS, you can't get past Windows loading, you can't get to the welcome screen, you need to hire someone to fix it. If you can get to the welcome screen and it freezes on the welcome screen, that's what I actually personally had, then don't worry, we can fix it. So if it's a hardware issue, you need to think back. Did you add new hardware? And if you added new hardware, maybe it's the drivers that are having an issue. So did you add new hardware? And if you didn't add any hardware whatsoever, then it's definitely a software issue. And I would say 99% of the time it's probably a software issue. Usually if you add a brand new piece of hardware, you start your computer and it doesn't work, you know automatically that you did something wrong. So most people, their hardware won't fail on them and they won't get to this issue. Most people, it'll usually be some sort of software corruption that'll lead them to this. So for most people, they'll probably have this software issue. And for me, like I said, I was getting a blue screen of death constantly on the welcome screen. So what should you do? If it's a hardware issue, you need to undo whatever the hardware issue was. You need to roll it back essentially. And so if it was adding RAM, you need to take the RAM out. If it was adding, X product, you need to take that product out and get rid of the drivers. It's a software issue, which, like I said, 99% of you will probably be here. I'm going to go through the steps of how to fix it. So first thing is you need to go into safe mode. To get into safe mode, most computers, you press F8 continuously at startup. So once you press the startup button, or power button, I'm sorry, you just keep pressing F8. That's how my computer does it. When you keep pressing F8, it'll say, what do you want to do? Do you want to start in safe mode? You want to do recovery mode, this, that, and the other? You would say you want to go in safe mode. For my computer, I couldn't get into safe mode. At this point, my safe mode even froze, which means I had an even bigger issue than probably a lot of you guys have. If you can get into safe mode, that's great. I would recommend backing up your data, getting whatever you can off of it, and then in safe mode, I would recommend running Malwarebytes. I'll provide links in the description. I would say run Malwarebytes and an antivirus scanner. The scanners I recommend are Kaspesky or Node 32. There's a lot of other ones out there, but these are the ones that I personally have faith in, and there may be other ones that work, but I haven't had the chance to go through them. I know which ones don't work, like Norton doesn't work very well, McAfee I wouldn't trust fully, but I do trust Kaspesky and Node 32. So run those programs, and most of the time you'll see that you probably have some sort of spyware or virus. It'll clean them and you should be able to get back into Windows. If what happens to you is what happened to me, I couldn't get into safe mode, it basically froze like that, then what you need to do is you need to run Windows recovery, or Windows repair I should say, Windows repair. So Windows repair, I have my Google out, Windows repair. I just want to show you guys how it looks. It's only available for... No, that's not how it looks. Windows repair, let me put Vista. There you go. This is how it looks on Vista. I'm not sure how it looks on the other ones. But so Windows Repair, what it tries to do is it tries to go through Windows' own files and fix some of them if they've been corrupted. And that's actually what happened with me. I had Windows corrupt itself just because I had run it for so long, and files just tend to go bad. Maybe I installed something and it messed up. Whatever the case may be, just over time, Windows will mess up. It's not, it's not perfect. It's not without its faults. So, as we already know. That was a funny joke. So, by running this Windows Repair, usually, well, it's called Startup Repair as well, usually what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to boot back in after this point and just start Windows normally. To get to this, you also press F8 just as you did in startup, and there's a thing that you select that says repair Windows. It's like, what would you like to do? So let me click F8 Windows screen just so you can see it. So yeah, so it looks like this, only I have one other option that's not here. So this is probably like a Windows XP computer. It's up above this. If you guys can see my mouse, hopefully you can. Let me verify that. Verify that show mouse. Yep. Okay, so you guys can see my mouse. That option up here. Again, if you have Windows 7 or Windows Vista, you'd be able to click that, and it would open up this essentially. But let me see if there's another picture that actually has that. No, these are really old pictures. You guys can see here. Safe mode. There you go. Finally found one. So, see how it says repair your computer? This is what I would ignore that. This is what I would click, this repair your computer button. And at this point, oops, sorry. Control this. At this point, if it still doesn't work, you might have to do what I did next. At this point, I did Windows repair. I still wasn't able to boot normally. So what I did next is I did Windows repair and then immediately went into safe mode. And by doing that, you repair all of Windows's files that you can, and you go directly into safe mode without any touching of normal mode. You don't let anything corrupt you, essentially. When I did that, I was able to go into safe mode, and I was able to prove something that was really helpful to me. I stayed in there backing up my files for 4+ hours, and because my computer was running properly for 4 or 5 or 6 hours, because that was the case, it showed that I didn't have a hardware issue, because if I did, the computer wouldn't have been running properly in safe mode. If you have a hardware issue, safe mode should not work. Nothing should work, essentially. So that proved to me I have a software issue. I've been on safe mode for 4 or 5 hours, scanning for viruses, backing up my computer. All my wiring inside my computer is okay. All my hardware is okay. I have some sort of software issue. And so after this, then I had to ask myself the question, well, okay, what's the issue? And if it was viruses and they've been cleaned, you should be able at this point to go back and boot up normally into your computer. So at this point, I was able to get into safe mode, clean my computer with Malwarebytes and my antivirus scanner, and assuming it was a virus or something, you should be able to get back into Windows. If you can't, let's say the virus did too much damage, or in my case, Windows was too corrupted to do anything, you will need to do a clean install. And to do a clean install of Windows, depending on what type of computer you have, you can either do a reparative install, or you can do a destructive install. So there's reparative, which is not a word, I know, but I'm just using it in this case, or destructive. Maybe I can use the word repairable. That's an actual word, and I'll seem like less of an idiot. Alright, so at that point, you need to decide what type of install you want to do of Windows. Because either, like I said, the virus messed up Windows, or something's just messed up with your Windows to begin with. Because you've proven at this point that you've gotten into safe mode and you should be okay. If after all of this you still can't get into safe mode, or you still can't get into your Windows repair, any of that, then you'd basically be on the same step. Assuming all of the previous steps failed, I was able to actually get into safe mode and back everything up. But assuming you couldn't, then you'd still be on the same point. You'd still need to do a clean install. And again, there's either repairable or destructive. Some people might have issues getting into Windows past the startup screen, so past the startup Windows, which is this. If you have troubles getting past this, I just wanted to mention this. I'm going to give this a new number, by the way. So I'll number this to, or number 4, come down here. And this is, can't get past startup, but can get past, or can't get past Windows, but can get past startup/BIOS. In this case, what you want is the Ultimate Boot CD. And this will allow you to test different things in your computer. It'll allow you to test if you have a hardware or software problem, because if all of this is running okay, then it's showing, hey, your computer is doing work properly. It's probably some sort of software issue. If you can run all of these, or if this is running okay. Essentially, you make a boot disk, and you can look up other tutorials on how to make a boot disk. It takes a few steps, and I don't really want to go into it. But essentially, you burn something as an ISO. And when you burn it as an ISO, that ISO or that image of the disk becomes a brand new disk, and there's special software that allow you to do that. But yeah, you need to make you can go to ultimatebootcd.com to get to this utility, run the disk, see if it works, or if you don't want to run this, you can run Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is a live CD of a special version of Linux. The problem with Ubuntu is that you have to install it on a new partition, or I don't know if you can run it off just the live CD. So I'd recommend the Ultimate Boot CD. Anyways, getting back to what I said previously, that's number 4. If you need to do a clean install, HP usually has some sort of repairable mechanisms to where they will help repair Windows as much as they can, so you can boot back into it, but it might be a little unstable. But it's useful for getting your files off. If you don't have an HP computer, then you don't have that option. And if your computer doesn't have any sort of repairable built-in thing into the startup menu, like I was showing you guys before, then your only choice might be a destructive, some sort of destructive install. And that just basically means that all your data gets destroyed, and you put a brand new clean install of Windows. The benefit of that is your computer will run faster. It always does. Every time you reformat a computer, it'll run faster. The downside is if you haven't backed up your data, it's really gone. It's really hard to get it back if you've done that. So hopefully at this point you've backed up your data. And assuming you're still with me at this point and you want to do one or the other, let's say you want to do a destructive one, you would either have to use the disks that came with your computer, or as some computers are doing, they're forcing their users to burn recovery disks on their own. So that's what my computer did. They never gave me recovery disks. They said burn them yourself. And what essentially they are is they're disks you put in your computer. You put them in when your computer is starting, before the screen, and what ends up happening is the computer boots off of the disk. If the computer doesn't boot normally off the disk, if there's some sort of issue, what I do is I press F2, and it might be a different button, but I press F2 and I change my boot to CD. And what ends up happening is the CD gets priority to do its job before the computer does. So you might have to do that if you're using some sort of backup disk to recover your data. So this is for a backup disk or not recover data, but to do a clean install of Windows. Most computers don't come with these disks, but if you got one, that's good. Like I said, in my case, my computer forces me to make my own. I go into the start, my programs, and I already made my own. Let's say you don't have that, or you don't want to worry about that. Then what you need is a Windows repair disk. To get a Windows repair disk, you have to call Microsoft and essentially request it. Be careful though, if you have an OEM version of Windows, Microsoft will not give you a repair disk. So what is OEM? I know this is getting really complicated, but this will probably help solve 90% of people's issues. 90% of the time people have a software issue that stopped their computer from getting fixed, and most of the time you just have to fix Windows. So anyways, bearing with me, continuing onwards, if you need a Windows repair disk, if you have an OEM version of Windows, they won't give you this repair disk, which costs about $35. So how do you know if you have an OEM version of Windows? What that means is basically you went to the store and you bought a computer and it had Windows on it. most of the time those are OEM versions. And the way you check is you go to Start, then you go to My Computer, and then you right click and left click Properties. So I'll show you. Right click or left click Start, right click on My Computer, which is right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me double check. Just barely. Well, My Computer is right here. You right click and you go to Properties, just like you can go to Properties here if you want, right there. So once you've done that, I don't want to show you my personal serial code, which is why I haven't done it, but once you've done that, it'll end up showing you what your serial number is, or your serial key for Windows. If the letters OEM are in it, essentially Microsoft will not provide you any sort of new Windows repair disk, even if you've got Windows 7. So what Microsoft will say to you, which is what they said to me after I wasted hours talking to them, is I need to talk to the company that I bought my computer from, and they have a license essentially to use Windows, and they change Windows a little bit, and that's what they've installed on my computer. So in my case it was Gateway. I called Gateway, and Gateway said they don't offer Windows repair disks. What they do offer is these types of backup disks to do clean installs, and if they wanted I could buy that. So if, let's say, you got a computer from Gateway as well, or some other company, Acer, you could call them and they might be able to give you that backup disk if you don't have it, and that'll let you do a clean install. Assuming they won't, or let's say they say your computer's too old, we no longer provide support for it, which is what Gateway did for me. Luckily I had my CDs, but let's say you're stuck. Let's say at that point you still don't have a Windows repair disk because you have an OEM version. You still you have no backup disks to clean install Windows. You basically have to go to the store and buy a new version of Windows. And at that point you would use that disk to reinstall Windows and wipe everything on your computer. And like I said, this is what 99% of people will have. If their computer can't start, it's because it's a software issue, and they either need to use Windows Repair to fix it, or they need to go into safe mode and see if they can back up their computer, run antiviruses, and run malware scanners, and clean it that way. Those are basically your only things you can do. If those don't fix it, then you go into a clean install. That's basically all you can really do. You can't really repair Windows, so to speak, or try to find that one particular file. That's really rare and hard to do. So I hope I've gone over everything. The first issue being you can't see any power, which is the power supply. And the second issue being that Windows is constantly freezing or blue screening and you can't get into it. So in both of those cases, and then I also went into a third case where if you don't see anything whatsoever, your screen is completely blank, you should probably hire someone to fix it. And the fourth case is if you can get past you can't get past Windows, sorry, but you can get past the startup or BIOS. That's when you would use like an ultimate boot CD, and this would let you do different tests, maybe do different scanners, and see if you've got the software issue I was talking about before. But yeah, this is a long tutorial, I know. If you just want to save yourself the hassle of trying to figure everything out or fix everything, I would just recommend go straight to the clean install. Get yourself a repair disk, or if you already have a Windows disk, or you can obtain a Windows disk, just do a destructive repair. If you don't have an OEM version of Windows, the repair disk is very useful because it installs a version of Windows on top of Windows. So it's like Windowsception, right? Like Inception, right? What that means is you can you can go back in, you can boot into Windows, and there's going to be a Windows old folder that will have all your old files, and some programs will actually probably be working too. So I would definitely recommend getting a Windows repair disk if you can. If you can't and you have an OEM version of Windows like I did, which is basically you bought a desktop computer at a store or you bought a laptop at a store, then Windows usually won't help you. The other thing is if you've got Windows 7 or Windows 8, you can call into Microsoft for support, and they will support it up until I think 2015. After 2015, they're going to discontinue support for Windows 7 and Windows, and they'll only keep it for Windows 8. For Windows Vista, apparently, they've already discontinued support, which is kind of weird because Vista came out in what, like 08, 09? So they've already cut that out. Windows XP's been out for a while. It's been gone for a while. But yeah, that's if you want to go. And what Microsoft can do is they can kind of walk you through and try to fix the issues. So if you got Windows 7, you can probably skip a lot of this and just call Microsoft and have them walk through different fixes. So I hope this helped you. I know this is a long video, but there's a lot of different stuff I wanted to go through. I will put this in the description to help you guys, and I will try to put a Malwarebytes link for you as well. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.